Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we're focusing on the NFL Draft because we're about 3 weeks away from this getting kicked off, and we're going to see if Joe Schoen and the front office can get the Giants back on track. We've talked a lot about the first round. We've talked a lot about pick six on this channel, about trading up, potentially trading down, and who the Giants should pick. But it's not just a draft that has one round. There's 7 rounds. And the Giants, they hold pick number 47, and they have a great opportunity to add a great football player to their team with that selection, and they need it to be a starter. We're going to show you some players at positions of need the Giants should target in round 2. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are going to be live for day 1 of the NFL Draft, and I want to see all your beautiful faces there, even to Bronx Boy. So subscribe and turn your notifications on so you never miss a thing. So the way I kind of wanted to go about this was first kind of zooming out and talking about team needs. Not going to go on a full thing about how the Giants need a quarterback. And honestly, I don't know if a quarterback is going to be on the board at pick 47. I'm not going to be surprised if Michael Penix as well as Bo Nix are gone by then. But the Giants absolutely have to address the cornerback position. They need to improve the interior defensive line. And whether it's running back, whether it's receiver, or whether it's tight end, the Giants have to add more offensive weapons. So let's start at the cornerback position. I went through a PFF mock draft. I stopped it at pick 47, and I'm now looking at the best players that were on the board. Let's start at the corner position. Mike Sainristil, the slot corner from the University of Michigan. If you watched the national championship, you saw number 0, the slot corner, the do-it-all DB, the defensive playmaker. He was here, he was there, he was everywhere against Washington. He was dominant. 5'10", 182 pounds, 44 tackles, 6 INTs, and 6 pass breakups last year. He is ranked by PFF as a top 40 player in this class. And with the need the Giants have on the cornerback depth chart, Sainristil would be a great pick. He reminds me somewhat of Brian Branch last year. He is just a football player, man. He just makes plays. He's got a nose for the ball, and he finds a way to get it done. That's how he had 6 PBUs last year, 6 INTs. He had a sack, a couple of forced fumbles, as well as a couple tackles for loss. And when he was in coverage, operating out of the slot, which he's done for more than almost 1,000 snaps in the last 2 years, he was really, really good. He allowed just 29 completions on 50 attempts, less than 415 yards. He did allow 4 touchdowns, but he canceled that out with 6 PBUs, 6 INTs, and when targeted, he only allowed a QB rating of 71.8. If you're looking to find a slot corner, which the Giants are, Sanders might be one of the best, if not the best, in this draft class. If you're looking for more of an outside corner, Kamari Lassiter, the 6-foot, 180-pound outside corner from Savannah, Georgia. And the Bulldog, I think, was the best available at pick 47 when I ran that mock draft. Didn't test all that well at the combine, didn't even participate in some of the speed and agility testing. But when you turn on the tape, you see an SEC corner that did really well the entire year. Didn't even allow a single touchdown this past year in 14 games played. Only allowed 15 catches on 39 targets. Only 136 yards, 8 pass breakups, no INTs, and a 48.7 QB rating. Do I think that one day he could be a cornerback 1? Yeah, but I think he settles in more in his career as a CB2. And that is fine because the Giants already have Deonte Banks. And if you could have Banks and Lassiter as your boundary corners for the next couple of years, you're going to be in a really, really good spot. Corner needs to be a high priority for the Giants. I know they invested a first-round pick last year in Deonte Banks, and I thought Banks played pretty good for his rookie year. Needs to tighten up a couple of things, but he was a rookie, and I expect him to be a big-time player this year. Outside of Banks, though, it's nothing but question marks for me on this Giants corner depth chart. I like Nick McLeod, but I don't want him being my boundary corner. He's more of a slot for me. Cordell Flott, I begged to win the starting slot position last year, and he could not do it. He struggled after being a third-round pick out of LSU. I still believe in the player, but it's getting to the point where it's now or never for him as he's entering year 3. Trey Hawkins, 6th-round pick last year out of Old Dominion. He's not ready. Aaron Robinson essentially hasn't played in 2 years, and you bring back Darnay Holmes on a veteran minimum deal. The Giants need another big-time player in this depth chart, so I want you to pick it for me. Would you rather Kamari Lassiter, the outside boundary corner out of Georgia, be the guy, or Mike Sainristill, the playmaking, ball hawk, turnover-creating slot corner on this team? Shane Bowen likes to play with a lot of DBs. He operated at a dime, the second most out of the NFL last year. That's 6 DBs on the field. If you're going to do that, you're going to need guys that can cover and tackle. You pick the player you want to see in Big Blue next year. From corner to receiver, Xavier Leggette is one of my favorite players in this draft class. We've talked about him for quite some time on this channel. If DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel had a baby, that is Xavier Leggette. The thing that kind of concerns me about him, it took him till his last year at South Carolina to really pop off, but the production and the tape is awesome. You go and watch Spencer Rattler tape, and all you're going to see is Xavier Leggette going up to the top shelf and going and getting it. He's a true outside receiver. I'd love him at 47. He just may not be there. Another receiver that you could look at is Keon Coleman. True outside guy, doesn't really operate out of the slot. The 40 time was disappointing, to say the least, but I don't want to get caught up in the 40 time. All these schools wear those new sports bra type of things, the catapult things, that test your GPS. They show you how fast you're playing in game, and the pros, they have access to that. The pro coaches and scouting department, they have access to that type of data. I don't love Keon Coleman, but at 47, I think it'd be a good pick, 6'4", 215. Vertical threat, can push it up top. Good player. Ladd McConkey is another name that I think everyone should get to know as a potential pick at number 47. Didn't have the most production at Georgia, but he tested better than almost everybody at the position at the combine. 6 foot, 185 pounds, extremely fast, extremely athletic, and I think with a bigger role and a more focused offense that wants to prioritize his production, it could work out. Thing is, he mainly operates out of the slot, and the Giants already kind of have their slot receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. McConkey, like Roman Wilson, is a slot receiver. So I'm not sure how high the Giants would be on him. You technically have 2 slots if you do go 4 wide. But Roman Wilson, he's a great blocker. I think that goes underrated as a receiver. I believe that he can win in the slot as well as on the outside. And I think in more of a offensive attack that wants to throw the football, Wilson could be a pretty decent receiver. Jalen Polk is a player that, like in November and December, he was guaranteed to go in round 2. But for some reason, he somewhat slipped in this pre-draft process. Didn't just light up the combine, but I'm not going to react too much to that. You watch the tape of Washington, and he pops off the page every time you watch. 70 grabs, almost 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, true outside receiver, like a true outside receiver. He's one of the best contested catch guys in the league. He pushes the field vertically. He makes a lot of sense for me. Jalen McMillan, the other receiver out of Washington, I think makes sense for the Giants. He should be available at pick number 47. Different than Polk, can line up in a more versatile way. Still a really good player, and I'd like to see him on this team. These next couple of guys I want to talk about at the receiver position are more so sleepers. And I kind of hate that term, but I don't know. 47 is going to be a reach maybe on some of these guys. But Javon Baker out of Central Florida, number 1 in college football last year in yards per catch. 52 grabs, almost 1,140 yards, north of 21 yards per catch. He is a big play machine. One of the best contested catch rates, a true receiver. Would love to see him on this football team. He may be round 3, though. And Malachi Corley, the Yak King, everybody's calling him. Steve Smith loved him. He is a special, special player. Elite after the catch. He eats up yards. Joe Schoen has made it a priority when talking about receivers to talk about generators with the football in their hands. That's exactly what Malachi Corley is. And I saw him in Matt Miller's mock draft go 52. He might be the guy at pick 47. Name a receiver you want the Giants to draft, though. Mainly talking about second-round draft targets in today's video, but if you want to mention a Malik Neighbors or a guy like Roma Dunze or whoever it may be, name a receiver you want to see the Giants select in the NFL draft. We still have many more players to talk about in round 2, but first, let's talk about Game Time, my favorite app to use when I'm trying to buy tickets to a sporting event, a concert, a theater event, or a comedy show. Download the Game Time app by going into the App Store. Use that promo code ChatSports, and ChatSports promo code will save you $20 off. What I love about it is the prices drop as the events get closer, and you also get to see a view of the stadium, court, concert stage, or so much more from the seat that you're thinking about buying. Baseball season is here, ladies and gentlemen. Go catch a Yankees game in Juan Soto. Go watch the Mets play. You can also go to a concert and so much more. It's not just Giants games. Check them out and use the promo code ChatSports, and you're going to get $20 off. Best seats, lowest price guaranteed. Prices of the events drop as the day gets closer, and they also have these flash deals where they will let you know when the best prices are going on. Check them out. It's a promo code ChatSports with the app Game Time. Download it. All the information is clickable in the comments and description. We talked about at the beginning of the show that offensive playmaker is a position of need for the Giants. That can include tight end, receiver, or running back. And I believe Ja'Tavion Sanders is the number 2 tight end in this class, and he is a stud. Prior to working at Chat Sports, I was a Dallas sports reporter. I covered high school football. I got to cover Ja'Tavion Sanders very closely. I went to many of his games. I've gotten to talk to him. I've gotten to interview him. This guy was a 5-star player coming out of high school as a tight end and a D end. Whenever they needed pressure, they put him in. He is a physical freak. He is a crazy, crazy player, and he is a stud and explosive playmaker at 6'4", 243 pounds. And with the thought and idea that Darren Waller may retire, the Giants need to go out and add another playmaker at this position. Waller, I think his best days are behind him, and for me, I would just cut him. If you're thinking about retirement, you're already 1 foot out the door, and you could just go. I like Daniel Bellinger, but I think he's more of a tight end too. And you talk about the guys that they signed this offseason, and Chris Manhertz and Jack Stoll. Those are blocking tight ends. And Tyree Jackson, he is a quarterback turned tight end. So, yeah, you need more talent there. And Ja'Tavion Sanders, JT Sanders, he is a stud. Braden Fisk, the do-it-all interior defensive lineman for Florida State. Somehow in the mock draft I ran, he fell to pick 47. I don't know if that'll happen in real life, but if he is, that should probably be the pick. His tape is incredible. He is one mean SOB, and his athletic profile is incredible. I'm going to quickly pull up his RAS score from the combine. He was awesome, like incredible. He got rated out, RAS scores from 0 to 10. He was graded out as 9.97. He ran a 4.78 40 at 292 pounds. The guy is crazy. Him, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, yeah, sign me up. If you want to look at another defensive tackle, I think Chris Jenkins, one of the best, if not the best run-stopping defensive tackle in this draft, could be your man at pick 47. 6'3", 305 pounds, beefing up the trenches on defense is something that I would absolutely be a fan of, because outside of Dexter Lawrence, the Giants' defensive tackle roster and depth chart is a little bit questionable. Shout out to my man Nacho, Rakeem Nunez-Roches, but he was brought here to be a DT3. I like Jordan Riley, and I like DJ Davidson, but there's still question marks entering the league as they're only in year 2 and year 3. Boogie Basham is more so an outside guy. I don't even know if he's going to make this team. So whether it's Fisk or whether it's a guy like Chris Jenkins, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Giants to prioritize that position, whether it is in round 2 or round 3. If you want to beef up the offensive line even more, the best guard in this class might be Christian Hayes, the interior offensive lineman at a UConn. Pro Football Focus, they graded him out very nicely because he is a very nice football player. Athletic profile was awesome. One of the best testing linemen at the Combine. 80 overall grade from Pro Football Focus across the board. I know the Giants went out and signed John Runyon, and they went out and signed Jermaine Illuminor, but I still think there needs to be more additions to this offensive line. I have Haynes as the best guard in this class, and I think he could be a starting right guard or left guard, and you could bounce out Illuminor to right tackle if Evan Neal does struggle this year. I want to see Runyon on that left side. He said he's more comfortable there. But the thing I love about Illuminor, and we've talked about this for months, is his ability to play multiple positions. He's played right guard, he's played left guard, and he had his best year of his career this past year with Las Vegas and Carmen Brasillo at that right tackle spot. Haynes in round 2 would be a great, great pick. Maybe not sexy, but sexy doesn't win in this league. Maulers in the trenches do. Let's talk about some defensive players now. We talked at the top of the show about corners. I got Jaden Hicks as one of my best safeties in this class. You let a guy like Xavier McKinney go, and I totally understand it because I don't know if you want to pay a safety $17 million, but Hicks, find him at 47. He's a do-it-all safety. I think that makes a lot of sense. The next best safety that was on the board was Javon Bullard. And, man, I'm a fan of both of these guys. I really, really am. I don't know if I would be in love with drafting a safety in round 2 just because I think there's other positions of need. And I'm honestly confident in Jason Pinnock and Dane Belton holding down the fort for this team. Pinnock, I think, is extremely underrated, and I'm ready for Dane Belton to be unleashed and unlocked and let him play all the snaps. Somehow the football always finds itself around Dane Belton. He is a turnover-creating machine. He is a big play playmaker. He really, really is. Used a 4th-round pick out of him in the draft in 2022, I believe that was, or 2022 out of Iowa. I want to see him have more free reign this year, more ability to make plays. I would like the idea of drafting a safety in round 2, but I think there's bigger positions of need, and I have more confidence in this room than I think a lot of people do. But I do understand that they need to add more talent because Javarius Owens, a 7th-round pick out of U of H, and Jalen Mills, probably not the most talent or depth there. What player do you want the Giants to draft in round 2, though? We talked about some receivers. We talked about some corners. We talked about a tight end. We talked about some safeties. We talked about some DTs. I know it's largely dependent on who you pick at number 6. That'll probably alter the way you go about making moves in round 2. But now's your time to sound off. Give me a player you want to see playing for Big Blue next year that you could pick at number 47. Make sure you are following me over on social media as well. Trying to get my social media game up a little bit. And I'm tweeting about the Giants and I'm posting about the Giants almost every single day. So give me a follow over there and let's go Big Blue.